So what is psychological fitness?
Okay, perfect. So psychological fitness is it's a term that we're using to help people understand where your experience comes from. So the whole nature of the program is to help people understand that the world of thought really and where our reality comes from. So it's very much grounded in neuroscience that our minds make up bits of our experience to give us like a full picture of what we have in the moment. And there's quite a lot of studies around that. So things like, I don't know if you've seen any of the things where you've got the dots, like the dots on a screen, but if you look at it, you can see a square.
Right.
Now, of course, that square doesn't exist, but our mind creates something to make sense of what we can see. So in terms of how it relates to work, we do a lot of work helping people understand the real principles here. So thought and feelings primarily. So, you know, what are thoughts? They're formless energy, and the way thought affects us moment to moment. The fact that thought's always changing. So we talk a lot about that. We link that to state of mind. So the fact that our state of mind is constantly fluctuating, and we've got some nice little diagrams. So we've got a state of mind that constantly fluctuates, and that means that sometimes when we're in a high state of mind, things feel easy and natural, and we're open to ideas and we're open to suggestions. And when we're in a low state of mind, we become kind of very insular, fixed in our thinking and not open to possibilities. But that's quite natural, this kind of up and down of our state of mind. Now, what happens is we often, in a low state of mind, because low state of mind, we tend to have negative thinking. And in a high state of mind, we're not caught up in our thinking. Not that we don't think, but we don't take things so personally and we're not so rigid in it.
Right.
That when we help people to kind of get eyes for the effect that thought has on our feeling states, then people really start to understand that we often in life, we buy in too much to the bad thinking that we have. So insecure thinking, negative thinking, it creates negative feelings, and we think, I don't like this, and we start ruminating on that, and we do more negative thinking, and before we know it, we're in a little bit of a spiral. And what we help people to do is that to just not give that negative thinking so much credit, so much weight, because really it's the same as the positive things, but we don't obsess about the positive things. We don't suddenly, spend all that time thinking about it. So what we call that whole thing that I just talked to you about, we call it like the human operating system. So the fact that the mind is a system and there's certain mechanics that happen, so state of mind and thought, and the last thing being that where our feelings come from. And our feelings always come from thoughts. Now, when you ask people, where their feelings come from, mostly they say it comes from traffic, too many emails, not enough money in the bank, kids are screaming, and all of those things so it seems like the external world is creating our experience. But we help people to see that our experience can only ever be created from the inside out. And we give some different examples. We've got loads of exercises. So take, for example, two people on a roller coaster, and you've got one person who is there, arms in the air, and you've got the person next to them who is clutching the handlebar, and going. Now, it can't be the roller coaster, because the roller coaster is the same for every single person, and that's the same with our experience of life. So that's the kind of the very kind of basic core concepts of psychological fitness. It's understanding how the mind works. And then when people have that core understanding, we use that to branch off into a whole range of other pieces. So for one thing is resilience. So people talk a lot about stress and stress in the workplace, and we've got to manage stress, and what do we do to help people stop stress? But stress isn't a condition like diabetes, like, cancer. It's self-generated, because we only have stressful feeling when we have stressful thinking. So when we help people to understand that, you start to be able to get that distance. And it's not that you never stop it, but you become much less reactive to it because you recognize that you get caught, and you're just getting caught up in your thinking. So we talk a lot about homeostasis and the fact that, you know, I said this varying state of mind. It always wants to come back to neutral. The fact that it varies is it's just like a system, just like everything in our body, like our temperature goes up and down, like our breathing speeds up and down, the blood goes around our system. And by the same token, our mind fluctuates moment to moment. So when we help people realize that if you don't buy into the low state of mind and the negative thinking, you will come back to that neutral position. And when you help people realize that, if you say, can you think of the time, you know, or think of a time when you were so stressed and like, did you ever get out of that? And they'll be like, well, yeah, eventually. We're like, well, that's because you always do. But when you're in it, you know, we nurture it like a little pet, don't we? You know, feeding it, and you know, we think, oh, this is it now, you know. And a thought without any weight being given to it, it's like a balloon with no air. But we're constantly blowing up the balloon with thoughts and stories and experience, and this must have happened for this reason, and this typical that's going to happen to me. And you know, we create all this narrative. Which makes us feel heavy, which keeps us in the low state of mind. So resilience is one way, but there's a lot that we do about psychological fitness, about a mind that has less on it has more ideas, it has more creativity, more connection, and we help people understand it. So there's lots of different offshoots once you've got the core understanding of what you can do with it. Let me just check in. I've been talking for a bit now and see what's kind of landing with you.
No, that's great. I had a thought around your example of the roller coaster. So, like you said, it's one roller coaster and people have different experiences on it. I am thinking about the impact of the environment. So again, we're all in the same office. We're all experiencing the same level of activity. Why is it that some people react differently? And to what extent does the physical environment impact on our psychological fitness?
Yeah, I would kind of flip it around actually. And I would say, imagine that we're all in our own little space bubble, and we always are. So every person in your office is in their own space bubble. And that's why their experience of the office is always different, because no two people, even when two people agree on something, let's say that you and I, this will never happen, but let's say that you and I, Jeremy, look at Philly and we just say, oh, you know, she should never have said that, you know, that was a horrible thing for her to say. Now, we might think that it's true because we both agree on it, but actually the way we've even come to that is different. So I think one of the things that people do is they believe their thinking as well, and they justify it because they get evidence from other people. And there's loads of evidence for psychology, isn't there, that we find the evidence that we want to fit our own thinking, and we're ignoring loads of other stuff that doesn't fit our thinking. So one of the things that we really teach people, especially when we think about collaboration and connection, is the fact that to help people understand that you really have to explain yourself and your thinking and your process, because no one ever comes at any issue from the same way. And our experience of the world is always completely unique to us. So when you help people understand that, and again, we could do some different exercises that we talk a lot about the outer world, what we see people do, but we don't talk a lot about the inner world. So even the fact about when we come on this call, you know, like, were we looking forward to it? Were we scared we didn't know what was going to be on the call? Was I worried that George was going to show up on the screen instead of Philly? You know, so we're all, even before we start the call, none of us are coming, even though it's a call, we're all coming together, but we're all coming from these different places. So it's just that when you get the understanding, and we always start by helping people understand it in themselves first, and getting their own examples for just seeing their feelings, seeing how connected their feelings are to thought, recognizing the narratives that we create around thought, and the fact that we're actually in control of that. But we're not when we don't know it. when we don't know it, the stories, they feel so real, you know, we feel like that's like, yeah, that's always been the way, and I can see that, and I've got evidence. But if we just open up a bit to think that there might be another alternative, that story has lost all its weight and its credibility, and that means that we can connect better, we can think better, and everything else.